Heaven, everyone. This is Tycoon Wibby for ISTRep.cash, and today we will be going over how to set up the tier structure so you can start listing products. Alrighty, so yeah, we'll begin by going into the PPC, scrolling on down and looking at the PPCs we have here. Click on the one we like to set up the tier for, or have to set up the tier, and we click that new product and it takes us here, right? It says, yes, this is where the genesis quantity of the PPC can be subdivided into tiers. Yes, tiers are good for different price ranges or different product types, right? And since we're doing spoons, of course, we'll love to say, I like to have some spoons that I sell for really low prices to get people into the collection, and then there's certain spoons and cutlery I'd like to sell with a very high margin for people who comprehend what this is all about and they would like to get in at the top tier, right? Because it gives you great freedom instead of only having one tier, and that's generally saying you're going to have just one price for everything, right? So if you're doing digital PPCs, one tier probably makes sense, right? If you are doing something that could break down into twos really easily, yeah, you might like three tiers, right? Or you have a dream, I'm going to have low tier, mid tier, high tier, and that's it, right? So the three tiers are good for you, right? But let's say you like to have the low tier, the mid tier, the high tier, and the ultra rare tier, right? And you might like to have four tiers, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll max it out for four tiers to get the best example going. So we'll go ahead and we'll click that four tiers, right? And once you have your tiers, right, you can see your tier distribution, right? And when you come down here, you have to name all of your tier structures, which adds a little bit more pizzazz to it, right? So it's like, I'm in the eat with tier 4, yada yada yada, right? All right, so we'll go through here and look at the actual tier structure, right? And so you can see for our first tier, which is set up to be the biggest, we have 4 Benji 1,000 tokens here, right? And we'll have 350 here, and we'll do that 240 there, and then this one will only be 10,000, right? And it's like 10,000 versus 4 Benji 1,000, right? That creates that rarity for this particular PPC's tier structure, right? And we can see we have the distribution of payout, which changes 15, 21, 24, right? And each of the distributions are different. If we click 3 tiers, right? So we'll see that we'll have that Genesis token split up in a particular way where it's like 20% for the first tier, 30% for the second tier, and 50% for the third tier, right? And then also in 2 tiers, we can see we just took the tier structure and gave this one 2/3 and this one gets 1/3, right? And we can go over the TMPR, right? Which is what you're going to actually pay to the tier, right? So it's the tier's monthly PosPegg rewards, right? So this particular, if we're doing 2 tiers, right? So the first tier, they'll get that $4, and then the second tier, they'll get that $6, right? And if we do 3 tiers, we can see they'll get the 4 and they'll all have to split it up. They'll get the 3 and they'll have to split it up. They'll get the 5 and they'll have to split it up, right? Bless. Alright, yes, and we see where we have the IMPR and that is the I, like me, my, yours, what you would get if you had just one token of this PPC, right? One entry point in this PPC. And because it's in USD and we're sending it as ZEC, that's still some ZEC, yeah? So if you start with a larger number, this number will increase. The higher this number, the more people are going to buy your products, yeah? So once we have decided if we like the 1-tier structure or the 2-tier structure or the 3-tier structure or the 4-tier structure, yeah, we come down and we name it, yeah. See, you'll have 3 names, right? So let's go ahead and max it on out and say that this name is wood, right? And then we'll say that this one is metal, right? And then we can say silver, yeah. Then we can go with gold, yeah. So these are all the names of our tiers. So we go ahead and create our tier structure, yeah. And then it goes ahead and it lets you list a product, which will be a separate video. So you can say we begin by listing the product by putting in all the addresses that we have here so that we can get paid, right? Because that person might pay you in Bitcoin BTC, they might pay you in BCH, they might pay you in ZEC, or they might pay you in USD. And we have to decide where we're going to send your money, yeah? So that's what that's about. So that'll be the beginning of listing a PPC new product.